Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Flashpoint Cyborg. This is a Target exclusive build-a-figure, and it takes 8 months to a year to finally build. They put these figures out very slowly. This is the third time they've done this. First time with the Batman Beyond Future's End Joker Batman Robot. Second time with the Crime Syndicate Star the Conqueror. And this time with Flashpoint Cyborg. This is going to be the first comic cyborg we've ever gotten, but he seems to be a little bit on the large size. So, here's the entire wave. If you buy Flashpoint Aquaman, Project Superman, The Flash, and Wonder Woman, you can assemble Cyborg. In this video, we're going to take a look at the figure, we'll get him assembled, check out his height, accessories, and articulation, we'll compare him with a bunch of other Cyborg figures, and a bunch of other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. So, let's start off by assembling him, and we'll start off with the first of the four figures, Aquaman. So let's start off with Aquaman. Aquaman is McFarlane's first Flashpoint figure. Correction, it's just the first Flashpoint figure in the Cyborg wave, but they did make the Thomas Wayne Batman already quite a while before this wave. This Aquaman has a ridiculous head sculpt. It's angry, and it looks okay, but the wide open mouth just looks dumb. He comes with Cyborg's torso, the biggest and most of the Cyborg figure. This particular version of Aquaman is leading the Atlantean army against the Amazons. It's a huge war, and then humans are getting crossed in the middle. The second figure in this wave is Project Superman. In the Flashpoint comic, Superman was sort of kept by the government. They would not let him get exposed to the red sun, so he couldn't expose his powers. That's why he's so skinny. But eventually they broke him out. He comes with Cyborg's arms. Now, I was very disappointed that Cyborg's right arm is a permanent cannon. I really hope someone makes an extra arm, 3D prints, or something. Personally, I like the cannon, but I want different options. I want to be able to have my Cyborg with two regular arms when he's walking around the Justice League Tower or interacting with other characters in a non-combat situation. So here's Cyborg, both his torso and the arms connected, starting to come together. Then the third figure was a Barry Allen Flash. In Flashpoint, the Flash goes back in time, tries to save his mom from dying, and ends up completely altering the timeline. The recent Flash film was sort of based off the Flashpoint story. He comes with Cyborg's legs, and my god, look how big they are. They're almost as big as Flash himself. This is a pretty normal, standard Barry Allen Flash. Might be the best Barry Allen out there. It's a toss-up between him and the Rebirth version. And then here's Cyborg with the legs attached. He's gonna be a big boy. And finally, we have Wonder Woman. She comes with Cyborg's head. Wonder Woman is in her armored suit because the Amazons are at war. Her and Aquaman were a thing for a little while, but it didn't end well, and now the Atlanteans and the Amazons are at war with humans in the crossfire. So there you have it. Cyborg, fully assembled. Another McFarlane Build-A-Figure under our belts. This guy is giant. I would say he's even bigger than I would have liked, but it gives him quite a presence. Staying next to the other figures, you do not want to fuck with this guy. So let's take a look. Starting with his head here. It looks pretty good. He's got a little bit darker skin than I usually see Cyborg. The red dot in the middle. Half the sort of robotic parts covering his face. The other half looking pretty normal. Hair looks pretty decent. You can see some texturing going on there. He's got the sort of metal around his chin. I guess a Cyborg logo here. He's got all kind of different lights on his shoulders, on his big cannon, on his knees. The figure itself appears to have single jointed elbows. Although I think it's actually double jointed on this, single jointed on this. Looks like single jointed knees. Big giant legs, big giant feet. It's going to help him stand up. This figure is enormous. And in case you didn't quite get how big he is, look at him next to the other figures. He's at least 50% taller. And not just taller, but his overall body mass. He doesn't even look like he's scaled up to go with them, but he is. Cyborg's real name is Victor Stone. His original canon in that he was sort of a test subject for intelligence enhancements, and they sort of made him this way. The modern day and age is a little bit more tied to Mother Box and Darkseid and a big accident that happened to him. Either way, he's a cyborg, half robot, half human, can't survive without either parts. And this is a very big version of Cyborg from Flashpoint. They're really pushing Cyborg to be an A-lister member of the Justice League ever since the New 52 reboot. Personally, I just don't buy it. Maybe he's a B-lister at this point. In the old days, he was always a member of the Teen Titans. I'd say he was a C-lister back then. His status has definitely increased as of late, but I still don't look at him as one of the major seven. Now, I do realize that Cyborg was drawn very big in the Flashpoint comics, and he's part robot, so I can understand him being a very large person, bigger than a person. But man, this guy is ridiculous big. I'm not saying it's wrong, but my personal preference is I wish he was a little bit smaller, and I wish he had a regular hand to interchange with the cannon hand. But looking at the Flashpoint art, I couldn't find a single panel without the cannon arm, so it does seem to be accurate. I mean, if you think about it, he's a robot. He has a lot of different sort of cyborg pieces, legs, arms, a torso. A lot of him is not actually flesh, so he could really be any size they designed him to be. But if that is the case, and he has a giant robot body, shouldn't his head be very small in this giant body? I mean, his physical head, the skull, the flesh, would not have expanded. Look how big it is next to the Flash head. Something's just not right here. And this is not exactly a problem with the McFarlane figure. That's how he's drawn in the comics. He wasn't drawn as a giant robot body with a small head. But if you actually think of it logically, his head should be about the size of Flash's head. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both his assembly and the figure. Now let's check out his height. And he is a big boy. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 9.2 inches tall, which can translate to about 23.5 centimeters. Now, someone's got to tell McFarlane they can't make up for the undersized Solomon Grundy by making an oversized Cyborg. They just don't balance each other out. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up and down. Not too much down, more than up. You can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes out a little bit more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got this sort of soft shoulder armor. It pegs into the back. You can sort of unhook it on accident. It does sort of prohibit the articulation a little bit. And especially his arm going up. That's about as far as you're going to get it. But at least you can point the cannon. And you can point it higher up with the elbow. Bicep cut below that. Single jointed elbow on the cannon side. 90-degree bend. Double jointed elbow on the other side. It goes all the way in. Ball joint his torso. Rotate around. Forward and back. Another one is waist. Rotate around. Forward and back as well. Between the two. Really good range of motion for a big, bulky armored guy. Legs. Complete dozen splits. McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is very good on this guy. They go forward. Almost all the way. Back not much. Looks like single jointed knees. And they have rotation. And then the ankle. Forward and back. It's very sort of stiff in there, which is good because he's kind of a heavy figure. Tilt rock, at least a little bit. Rotation, not at all. And toe articulation. Here's a look at the Thomas Wayne Batman and Grifter fighting the good fight together. Other heroes come to join them to protect the world of man against the Atlanteans and Amazons. And here we have it, the Atlanteans on the left taking on the Amazons on the right, world of men in the middle. Here's Cyborg busting a big hole through this wall. Now let's talk about next to some other action figures. Starting off with some other Cyborg figures. Here's this Flashpoint Cyborg next to the Zack Snyder's Justice League Cyborg. They actually made two versions of this Cyborg, the regular version and the armored Walmart exclusive version. And here he is, next to McFarlane's animated Teen Titans Go Cyborg. Here are all of the versions of Cyborg that McFarlane has made so far. This Flashpoint one is the first comic version, but I just wish he wasn't quite as big. Then, here he is, next to a DC Direct New 52 Cyborg. And now, next to some Mattel Cyborg figures. On the left, we have the DC Universe Classics Teen Titans Cyborg, and on the right, a couple versions from Justice League. Here are all of the different 6 and 7 inch scale Cyborg figures that I have, and there are plenty out there that I don't have. Here's this Cyborg, next to McFarlane's Murder Machine. Murder Machine is basically a hybrid of Batman and Cyborg from the Dark Multiverse. Now let's check them out. Next is some other Flashpoint figures. Here's the entire Target exclusive Flashpoint wave. Collective build Cyborg. We have Aquaman, Project Superman, Cyborg, The Flash, and Wonder Woman. And while that was the entire Target exclusive Flashpoint wave, they also made Thomas Wayne Batman, a Flashpoint character that was from the early days of McFarlane. They made both a masked and unmasked version. Here he is, next to the DC Direct Flashpoint wave. Similar character selection. I have Batman, Aquaman, The Flash, and Wonder Woman. I am missing the DC Direct Flashpoint Cyborg. Funny, I would love to compare him to this one. Here's Cyborg, next to a bunch of other McFarlane members of the Justice League. Shazam, Aquaman, Batman, Cyborg, Superman, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, The Flash, and Wonder Woman. These are all based off the comics except Wonder Woman. Her comic version is coming. The Cyborg's cool, I just wish he wasn't so goddamn big. Now let's check him out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is. Next to some recent Amazon exclusive gold label figures. These are the glow-in-the-dark versions. We have the Infected Batman, Titan Joker, Swamp Thing, and John Stewart Green Lantern. And here he is, next to some Entertainment Earth exclusive figures. We have the Blacklight figures on the left, and the sketch figures on the right. Then, next to the second wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures, both the regular and the Platinum Chase variants, we have Firestorm, Hawkman, and Sinestro. And now, next to the Injustice 2, Superman, and Brainiac, here's Cyborg, next to the Batman, The Last Night on Earth, Batman vs. Omega 2-pack. And here he is, next to the Dark Knights of Steel Batman, and both versions of the Jim Gordon Batman. Then, next to the Batman Beyond vs. Justice Lord Superman 2-pack. And now, next to both versions of the Santa Batman. Here's Cyborg, next to the Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, black and white accent, Joker and Martian Manhunter. Then, next to some recent McFarlane Toy Store exclusive figures, we have the Patina variant of Superboy Prime and Merciless. Then, the Interrogation Room Joker and Catman. And finally, here he is, next to the Aquaman of the Lost Kingdom movie wave. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. Even though the Cyborg is 9.2 inches tall, he is part of a 7-inch scale action figure collection. I'm going to start with my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. And now, next to some Jack Specific and some DST or Diamond Select toys, here's Cyborg, next to a damn near empty bottle of Crown Peach. Here's Cyborg, next to some DC Direct and some NECA figures. And here he is, next to both some Mattel and some Jazzwares wrestling figures. Then, next to some Mezco and some Mattel DC figures. And now, next to some Mafex and some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally, next to some SH Figure Arts and some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, he's a nice Cyborg figure. He scratches the itch for a comic Cyborg, but not completely. My biggest problems with him, and I know I've beat this dead horse with a stick, is that he's too tall, and he has that permanent cannon for an arm. Now, that is not an error on McFarlane's part. It's not a scaling issue. That is accurate to the Flashpoint comic, the cannon for the arm, and the giant size. But it is not accurate to my personal preferences. I would love to have this comic Cyborg and fit into my Justice League with the rest of my figures, but I have a little bit of trouble. He's just so damn big. Those guys are 7 inches, this guy's 9 inches. That's a huge difference. And it is accurate to the comic, but like I said, not what I was going for, not what I was hoping for. I'm sure we'll get some future Cyborg figures, but it's gonna be a while. Either way, this is probably McFarlane's best Cyborg, but depending on my mood, I'll either be using him or the Zack Snyder Justice League version with my Justice League setup. And I was really hoping this would be the definitive Cyborg. And maybe he still is, I don't know. He's just so damn big, it's really bothering me. If I were to rate this figure, his articulation, it's a little clunky in certain areas, but pretty good for a big bulky guy. The single jointed knees, the ankles, and then the cannon arm are a bit more limited than I'd like. His accessories are non-existent. I wish he had a swappable hand for the cannon. The sculpt and paint job are excellent. If I were to rate him, I'm probably going to give him a 7 out of 10. if the hand and the height were addressed, he'd easily get an 8. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add it in the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.